Dear friends, today we are going to tell you about a very sad incident. It has become so difficult to bury a woman in a grave, as the grave is saying, "I will not accept the dead body of this woman." Then that woman will be buried with gold bangles. She was buried. What work did she do for which she was punished and had to be buried with the bangles? We request you to listen to this incident till the end. I will narrate today's incident to you in the words of Abdullah, who is the Imam of the Masjid. It is said that it was the time after Asr and it was extremely hot. There was a lot of heat, and people did not even feel like stepping out of the house. The number of people coming to the mosque for Asr namaz was very low. As soon as after the namaz, when people left for their homes, I lay down in the mosque with a fan on one side. I thought of resting for some time, but then a man from the locality, Muhammad Shabir, came to me and said in a very sad tone, "Imam Sahib, my wife is dead. I have gone to offer his funeral prayers, and you will perform the funeral." After listening to him, first of all, I expressed my regret to him and told him that I am very saddened by the death of your young wife like this. May Allah forgive her. What is the fixed time for the funeral? When I asked him what he had done, he said that he intends to perform the funeral only after the Maghrib namaz, and I want you to perform the funeral. After listening to Muhammad Shabir, I placed my hand on his shoulder to encourage him and said, "You are worried. Don't do it. I will perform the funeral in such time." Children started coming to the mosque. Muhammad Shabir went back home. I felt very sorry for his wife because Shabir was barely 35 years old, and his wife would be around 28 or 30 years old. There were two small children. I became sad for those children whose mothers left them at such a young age. I dismissed the children from studies early, and after offering Maghrib prayers, I came out of the mosque and went to my place. Made a boy sit in the mosque and told him to wait there for some time. I would return after performing a funeral prayer. There was a graveyard in our area, outside of which a funeral procession was made. When I reached there, a large number of people were present. After some time of reaching, the funeral was read, and now the time of burial came near. Some people left as soon as the funeral was read, while some close people were present with Muhammad Shabir for the rest, because I myself was very fond of Muhammad Shabir. He was sad and worried. That's why I was also present near him to encourage him. The grave had already been dug, and at that time the dead body was being lowered into the grave. But as soon as the dead body was lowered into the grave, it suddenly felt like a grave. You start getting fed up, and strange sounds are coming from the grave, and a large number of snakes and scorpions start appearing inside the grave, whose hissing gives a strange feeling of fear, and those snakes and scorpions start biting the dead body. This is the scene. After hearing these voices, the people present there became very frightened, and some of them ran away from there, while Muhammad Shabir also looked with troubled eyes, sometimes towards the dead body, sometimes towards the grave. He felt very sad at this time. I was surprised and troubled. Till date, no such incident had happened before my eyes, nor had I ever heard anything like this. At that time, darkness had spread, and the atmosphere of the graveyard had also become very scary. I had goosebumps. They had stood up, but I continued my tasbih and kept chanting. Now Muhammad Shabir was very upset and lost in thought about what had happened. Even Gorak did not find it appropriate to stay there, and he also left from there. I wanted to, but then I and Muhammad Shabir requested him to dig another grave so that the dead body could be buried there. So everyone went away. Now only Muhammad Shabir and Gorak were present there. Then I noticed that there was a lot of fear. At first we refused, but after listening to our request, he agreed and started digging another grave. After digging that grave, he asked us to bring the dead body there, and he stood on one side. I and Muhammad Shabir took the dead body near the second grave. They reached there and started lowering it into the water, but what was this? Suddenly a large number of snakes and scorpions started appearing in the grave, and the sound of screams started coming from inside the grave. While when Gorak saw this scene, He too was filled with fear and left the cemetery. At this time there were only me and Mohammed Shabir in the cemetery. Mohammed Shabir had tears in his eyes, there was fear on his face and his lips were trembling. Then Mohammed Shabir started saying, "Imam Sahib, what is this matter? When they start burying my relatives, then the grave. Why does one start getting so worried? Snakes and scorpions start appearing. You tell me, what is all this? What should I do?" Hearing the troubled voice of Mohammed Shabir, I encouraged him and said, "Let us both try once again and together solve this problem. Let's bury. I hope nothing like this will happen now." When we started taking the dead body to Lahad, but this time too the same thing was repeated. I was drenched in sweat. Being an imam of the mosque, I was well aware of the wrath of Allah, and I knew it. Surely this is some wonderful sign from Allah. Surely this woman is engrossed in some work due to which this severe punishment is coming upon her. Despite being dead, she is not reaching her real destination. Her grave does not accept her. And I asked Shabir, "What did your wife do like this? Has she ever done any such thing or committed any such crime due to which this punishment has come on her?" Seeing my confused expression, Mohammed Shabir started crying and said, "Imam, sir, my Ahaliya had done only one wrong thing in her life, and perhaps this is her punishment." Mohammed Shabir's tone was defeated and full of sadness at that time. I encouraged him and said, "Have courage and tell me what is the matter with us. The dead body has to be buried, and unless you tell me the real thing, this work will not be done. Anyway, everyone has left from here. Darkness has increased, and the time of Isha is nearing. Please tell me the real matter, so that after burying the dead body, we can also do it." Mohammed Shabir could leave from here as if he had understood the delicateness of the situation, and then he said, "Imam Sahib, this happened 5 years ago, when I and my family lived in some other area. We were very happy about my marriage. Only 2 years had passed, and there was only one son in my house. I used to do a good job, and the income I earned from there was enough to support both of us, my wife and our child. But my wife was very fond of makeup. She was fond of wearing new clothes, and whenever she saw someone else's woman wearing good clothes and jewelry, jealousy and desire would start awakening in her heart. She would often say to me, "Shabir, do you do any other work along with your job? Do some other business as well? What is there in this vacant job? How long will we spend our lives sobbing like this? How long will we continue to live like this?" I too want to wish. We also want to spend our lives peacefully, and whatever my heart desires, I want to fulfill it. After listening to my wife, I always give her courage and tell her not to worry. Very soon I will be promoted, my salary will also increase, and then many of our issues will be solved. But after listening to me, she started saying that just increasing the salary will not do anything. Yet how much difference will it make if you also do some other work as well? Like your friend who earlier used to do a normal job here ever since he went to Dubai. It is as if money has started raining in his house. The wife wears a lot of jewelry, and her children also go to study in an expensive school in the city. PJ burgers and everything else are served at their house every day. You should also do something like this. My wife used to ask me in a tempting manner, and I used to wear these on her daily basis. Fed up with the talks, I was forced to think that I too should go out for the peace of my wife and children. So I risked my savings, and on the advice of my friend, gave the money to an agent. But that agent turned out to be a fraud and ate my money. Since I'd left my job, I had no hope of getting a job, and had also lost the savings I had. The condition of our house started deteriorating. Now Saima would taunt me day and night. I used to fight with her and tell her that she did not treat me well. Earlier I was getting along, but now I am eating bread twice a day with great difficulty. Thanks to her, all that has ended. I was fed up. If I got any small job or work, I would have done it, but now there was neither peace nor the comfort in the house as before. Seeing the situation at home, Saima also took up a household job. Mian lived only with his wife, and they did not even have children. There was some issue with that woman. She had some disease due to which she mostly remained on bed rest. So Saima would take care of that woman and then simultaneously do the household work. Saima would often come home and talk about him, saying that today he had bought a suit worth 15,000 rupees for his wife. Sometimes she would come and say that today he had gifted a gold ring to his wife. Granted, I used to listen to her with surprise because the woman was ill and the sir's work was good. He used to run his own business, whereas Saima used to say that whenever she saw her mistress, a desire arose in her heart. She would say, she is wearing gold bangles in both her hands, and apart from this, a chain around her neck, tops in her ears, and 2 or 3 rings on her hands. Everything is of gold, and look at me, I do not even have a ring. Saima often said all this with jealousy and would not thank me. I would keep looking at her with regret. Our days were passing by, but what was earlier was no longer there. There was a rift between me and Saima too. Both of them used to pull a little with each other, because after the change in circumstances, I blamed Saima and Saima blamed me. Only a few days had passed when one day Saima's Begum Sahiba passed away. The news of her death shocked me and Saima. At this time, Saima was present near her while her husband had gone for his work. Saima told her the news of her wife's death, and after this, Saima remained present there till her death. And now Saima is very upset. She also had work which she had left, and now she was staying at home. I used to encourage her and told her not to worry, Allah will find some other reason for you. But I did not know that there was some other reason behind Saima's problem. And when I came to know about this reason, I myself became very angry. One day, suddenly when I came home early in the evening, I was not feeling well. At that time, Saima did not know about my arrival and started crying with her hands. I was holding the gold bangles and looking at them with great desire. I was completely surprised to see those bangles and unknowingly asked Saima where these bangles came from and who they belonged to. She got very nervous after hearing my voice, and the bangles slipped from her hand and fell. When she went feverishly, she immediately picked up those bangles and said, "Hey, when did you come?" She was nervous after seeing me, so I ignored her question and told her, "Whose bangles are they? Where did they come from?" Seeing whom there was suspicion, Saima got scared and her hands and legs started swelling. Then suddenly, she uncontrollably hid her face in her hands and started crying loudly and said, "Shabir, don't doubt me, I will tell you everything truthfully." Only then, Saima started saying that Begum Sahiba, in the house where I worked, had so much jewelry, and she used to wear a lot of it on her hands. I used to look at her with a strange longing. A desire arose in my heart that I too should wear such jewelry in my life. I loved her bangles very much, so when Begum Sahiba passed away, I don't know what happened to me. The devil overpowered me, and I took off those bangles from Begum Sahiba's hand because I knew Sahib would be very sad at this time, and in his state of grief, he would not have any idea that the bangles were missing, and that is what happened. Sahib did not even realize this because the rest of the jewelry was present as it was. Only the bangles were missing. I was afraid at first, but later became confident because Sahib had no idea about the disappearance of those bangles. He was not getting out of the grief of Begum Sahiba. But Shabir, ever since I brought the bangles home, don't know what is the matter. I could not see them wearing them even once in my hands. Whenever I wear them in my hands, the face of Bey Ikhtiar Begum Sahiba comes in front of my eyes, and the same thing is worn in her hands. I start seeing bangles. I get scared and put those bangles back. Every night in my dreams I see Begum Sahiba, and she complains to me, "Saima, what have you done to me? You have done to a dying woman, betrayed her existence, cheated her on her property, and she does this to me every day." And I get up scared and sit down. I'm feeling very nervous. I don't know what to do. As soon as these bangles are around my neck, When Saima told me all this while crying helplessly, I kept looking at her. I couldn't believe that my wife would do such a wrong thing, and then she wouldn't even tell me what I would do to her. Why would I scold her because she was already burning in the fire of remorse and was facing a lot of punishment? That's what I said. If you have any regrets about your actions and you want this regret to go away from your heart, then it would be better to do this. If you go to Begum Sahiba's house and tell the whole situation to Saheb, I am sure he will forgive me. I put my hand on Saima's shoulder and encouraged her, but she got scared and said, "No, Shabir, I can't do this because if I do so, Sir will send me to jail. I know Sir is very principled, and he does not forgive even the smallest mistake of anyone, and after Begum Sahib's departure, his heart is very hard. I know that if I confess my crime in front of him, he will not forgive my mistake but will send me to jail. How will I go to jail? How will I live without you guys?" said Saima, holding my hand. She started crying and I kept looking at her helplessly. I was not able to understand how to console her and bring her out of this fire of regret. Imam Saheb, from that day onwards, Saima was not the same Saima, but slowly and gradually she started dying. Her complexion was becoming pale, and the dark circles under her eyes were becoming lighter. It seemed as if she was suffering from some serious illness. She was always in a state of fear and would look at her as if she was staring at something. You are looking at it and are scared of it. Saima, who earlier used to be very fond of dressing up, used to wear bangles with her hands full. Now she used to get extremely scared after hearing the name of the bangles. She had never taken out those bangles again and looked at them. She did not even take her name. In this condition, a daughter was born in our house, but Saima's heart could not be attached to that daughter either. She was in the grip of her regrets and fear. Now she started seeing Begum Sahiba even while she was alive, and she would often start screaming after seeing him in front of him, and she would get the feeling of a strange seizure. I wanted to talk to Saheb and tell him the whole situation and apologize to Saima. Maybe in this way, Saima would be like this, so that she could get out of the fire of remorse and her condition could improve. I went to Sahib's bungalow without informing Saima, but I came to know that Sahib had gone to a foreign country for 2 months. I was very disappointed because Saima's condition was getting worse day by day. She was going and her screams used to tear my heart. I knew that out of greed she made a big mistake of removing the bangles from the hands of a dying woman, but now that mistake had become a noose around her neck. Those bangles are still in our house. Saima is lying in the cupboard. She left this world in the fire of the same regret, and now the whole situation is in front of you. I am burying her after offering her funeral prayers, but the grave is refusing to accept her, and snakes and scorpions are hiding her. Imam Saheb is desperate to bite. Now you tell me, what should I do? How can I tolerate all this? Saying this, Muhammad Shabir started crying again and I went into a state of agony. I could not even imagine that a woman would get involved in such a crime and commit this crime. After some thinking, I said to Muhammad Shabir that he should bring those bangles from home because I feel that the role of these bangles is very important in burying my mother. When I told this to Muhammad Shabir, he was in disbelief. Maulvi Saheb started looking at me. What can happen in burying the bangles? What do you want to say? Muhammad Shabir's tone was tawdry. Then I told him, you bring the bangles, then I will tell you. Till then I am present here, I told him. Consoling him, he sent me home. Until then he himself kept reciting the tasbih of istighfar and praying for the forgiveness of Saima. Then after 15-20 minutes, Muhammad Shabir came back trembling. He had 6 bangles in his hand, and they were gold bangles. These were very beautiful bangles, perhaps seeing which every woman's heart would melt, and she would become restless to get them. Saima's wish was also not unreasonable, but to fulfill her wish, she took a wrong step and fell into the hands of a manly woman. By taking off the bangles from the body, I subjected myself to continuous torture forever. Then I told Muhammad Shabir to place these bangles on Saima's shroud and then bury the dead body with me. As per my request, Muhammad Shabir did the same. I placed it inside Saima's shroud and then started lowering the dead body along with me into Lahad. This time the grave confessed to Saima that she had committed the crime to please her heart. Now he was going with her, and who knows? What was going to happen to her next, and this is the secret of Allah, none of us can know. I, Muhammad Shabir, buried Saima, and after leveling the soil of the grave, we came out of the cemetery. At this time, Muhammad Shabir was very unhappy. It was because he had to bear double trouble and sorrow. Firstly, his dear wife left this world, and secondly, he kept doing everything with her dead body, which had also troubled Muhammad Shabir a lot. Kept explaining to him the way and kept trying for patience. Muhammad left Shabir at his house and came to the mosque. Isha namaz had been done long ago, but I had to offer it now. I offered namaz alone and went to the presence of Allah. I prayed a lot for Saima because I knew that Saima had committed such a crime for which she might have to face doomsday. Dear friends, I hope that you have liked today's lesson, Amoaz's incident. Majid, to hear similar incidents, subscribe to our channel. Be a part of our family by subscribing. Thank you.